So we have a new challenge video here. Yay, challenge. So what we want to do is we want to make a new function or a new program that's going to find the middle value of an array. So the example here is 31736, and we want to be able to sort this and then find the middle value, which the middle value is obviously 3. So we've already looked at a length function. So I already made this, not to bore you guys. This was in the previous average video. So simply what we're doing here is we're making a function called length. We're going to pass in the array. We're going to initialize a counter. We're going to go, and once again, we don't know when to end, but we know when to start because we're always going to start at 0. So this is going to equate, if it's undefined, it's going to unequate to false, and then it's going to go in this else statement and then break. So we're going to do the counter, and I just wrote this here quickly so you can see that you don't have to write it plus plus. You could have done it this way or this way. Totally your preference. I like this convention, but if you don't like it, then you can write it either way you want. If you think this is more clear to write it this way, go ahead and do that. We're going to break once it becomes undefined. Now we have a function that's always going to return us the length. So we're going to go ahead and close this, and we're going to test it just to make sure that is going good. So we're going to do var. Did I return something here? I can't remember. Yes, I did. So we're going to do length 1, and then we're going to just call it of array 1. And I know what you're thinking. We don't have an array 1. I'm getting there. Array 1 equals, and then I'm just going to copy and paste this one up here. All right, now I'm just going to run it. Obviously I didn't console log anything out, so I'm not seeing anything. Now let's try this again. Bam. So we have 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I like it. So we just made a quick thing right here to make a function to grab something, and that's working perfectly. So I'm going to delete this because I've done my test. Now what we need to do is we need to be able to sort this, right? Because the computer's not going to be able to know it's 3, because it's going to look at this array and then find 7. That's not what we want. We want 3. So what we're going to do is we're going to make a new function called sort. Once again, it can be named anything. I like sort. Actually, sorty kind of sounds fun, doesn't it? Let's do sorty. Let's be wild. So we're gonna do end of sorty function. All right. So now what do we need to do here? We need to be able to sort this array numerically from least to greatest. Once again, there is a function called .sort, which will sort this for us, but we're not going to be using that. We're going to go old school because that might be something that you're asked, because anybody can type in a function, right, that's already existed, or a prototype, so like this. You know, anybody can do that and then get it sorted. Not everybody can actually think through what this is actually doing and then replicate it. And that's what employers want, right? Is people that can think. So right now, we're going to start with a for loop. So let's do this for loop, an end of for loop. And I'm going to say this is I. So once again, we actually know when it's going to stop, so we're going to be okay. So we're going to do var, whoa, not twice, var 0. And what's really special compared to what we had before is now we actually know when it's going to end. It's going to end at length, right? So now we can do I length. And so what we need to do is just simply call in a function. And once again, naming conventions are really good. So I don't want to have a variable the same name that is a function that I'm going to call. So length array is what we're going to call it. So we're going to go ahead and do var length array equals, and then we're going to call the function. And that's going to be equal to the array that we're going to pass in. Just like that. We have a very special guest in the room with us today. I got my wife who's watching me, making me very nervous. Do you want to say hi?
Hello.
That's my wife. Can you say it a little louder? I don't know if they do.
Hello.
Okay, that's terrifying. Now what we need to do is we actually need to have a for loop within a for loop, because we need to be able to compare every integer in the array with every other integer. So we need to compare 3 to 1, 3 to 7, 3 to 6, 3 to 3, so on and so forth. So we need to hold 3 constant as we move throughout the array. So doing that is what we call a double for loop. Not as scary, it's not very scary, but it's needed whenever you want to do this type of work. So once again, it's kind of common practice to do var j equals 0. And then what we're going to do is we're going to end this. And I'll explain a little bit what I'm doing here. And we're going to go ahead and make 2. Oh, I forgot my first part. I'm going. All right, there we go. I'll explain what I'm doing here in a second. And so that is what our for loop is going to look like. Let me make this a little bigger so that we can see it. So basically, I'm going to hold the first value constant as I compare every other integer in the array with it. So I'm going to hold 3 constant as I compare it to 1, as I compare it to 7, as I compare it to 3, as I compare it to 6, so on and so forth. And then I want this to end at the length of the array, so 5, minus whatever the integer of 0 is, minus 1. So that's going to hold it constant. So now we just need an if statement. So basically, if you thought this through already, what we need to do is simply compare each value to the first value, and then so on and so forth. So what we want to do, go in here, there it is. So what we want to do is we want to do array, and then we want to compare the first index to the second index. So j, so if that is greater, we want it to do certain logic. And now what we can do is just do j plus 1 here. And so basically this is going to say if index 0 is greater than index 1, then go into this logic. So if 3 is greater than 1, then go into here. Obviously it is, so it's going to go into this logic. Now most civilized languages have, this sort function already built in, but as JavaScript does, but we don't have that. And when I was working with C originally, you would have to do something called a swapping function. And so usually we would have this variable called temp. Now once again, temp could have been anything, it could have been this. But temp just helps us understand what it is. So what we're going to do is we're going to set temp equal to the first index that we're comparing. So now what I have done is I have made index 0 equal to temp. So now temp is stored as 3. So temp is now 3. So now what we're going to do, and I'll write that here so we can visually see it. Now, since it is greater, we want to swap them so that 1 goes to 3. So now it's going to be 1, 3. That's what we want. So what we're going to do is we're going to do array j, or 0, equals j plus 1. So what we're saying is now 0 is going to be equal to 1, index 1. So now 1 is going to be equal to 0. So basically what we're saying here is that, what am I saying here? Oh yeah, 1 is now index 0 through this logic. This is why we had to use the temp, because we had overwritten it here. And so now what we need to do is just finish this logic, because now we need 3, because 3 You can't just get rid of 3. We need 3 to go to index 1. So now what we're going to do is we're going to do j plus 1 equals temp. So this is what's called swapping. We had to do this in C a lot. So now 3 is now index 1. And so basically this is going to keep going through. So it's going to compare, once this swap is going to happen, it's going to be 3 and then 1. I'm sorry, 0 and then 1 and then 3. And then 3 is going to get compared to 7, 3, and 6. So this should keep on going, and this should really do what we want. So what we're going to do is do a return, and we're going to return the array. Because it should be sorted, right? So we're going to do var sorted 1 equals sorty. God, I like that word, sorty. And we're going to pass in array 1. Let's see what we got here. And we're going to console log it out to see what it looks like. Let's see if we did it right. Uh-oh, spaghetti-o. So we forgot our break here. So we needed a semicolon here. Simple mistake. Could have happened to everyone. Stop yelling at me. All right. Look at that. Isn't that beautiful? We got a nice sorted array. Let's test it out again. So let's do 3, 5, 1, or 21. 1, 2, 9, 300, 1, and then 2. A little Sublime magic there. Look at that. I think we're happy. Now we have made something that's always going to sort this array for us. Very nice. Now what we need to do is simply pluck out the middle value. So we're going to make a new function. I did not want to do that, sorry. Function and middle, we're going to call it. Now, if it's odd, right, like this one's really easy. All you need is 7. So what you need is just literally the middle one. If it's even, it's a little more logic. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna do an if statement. So we're gonna pass in the array here. Then we need to call this function, the sorty array. So we're gonna do var array equals sorty array. And that should make it sorted. In fact, what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually do a different variable here. So that way we don't have any problem with naming conventions. You have to be so careful with naming conventions. Always name your things properly. So we're going to do an if statement to find out if it's even or odd. And if you're ever finding out something that's even and odd, that needs in your programming mind to scream out modulus. Basically, that is what you use to find an even and odd, is a modulus. That should just scream out in your mind. So we're going to do that. And so now what we're going to do is we're going to take the sorted array. Actually, we need the length of it to figure out it's even. But we have a length function, so we're good. So length array. Now, once again, scope, so we should be fine because it's declared in another private scope, so we should be okay. So we're going to take the length of that. So what we're going to do is take the length. This is why I love functions, right? So instead of writing out all this logic twice, it's always going to be right here, right? Because I always have a function that's going to return the length of it right here. So this is why I love functions, is because all you need to do is write one line of code and get that information, then rewriting code or making your code really hard to read. So just separate code for me is a great way to keep myself organized. So modulus is the percent sign. So we're going to do equals to 0 like that. So meaning if the remainder divides evenly, so if the length is 4 and we divide it by 2, there's going to be no remainder, right? So that's what we want if it's even. So if it's even, we want to take that out. So what we're going to do is we're going to say, let me make a variable, middle value, and we're just going to set that equal to 0. And we're going to say that middle value is equal to, and just a bunch of some logic here. So we're going to take the array that we're using, and obviously we're going to take the sorted array. That's why we did all that logic up there. Then we're going to do the length. So length of the array. So now this is going to be the length. So if it's 4, this is going to be 4. And what we're going to do is divide this by 2 and subtract 1. So if it's this right here, which would not work because it is not even. So let's do an even. Actually, let me just comment this out. So if the array is this, right? 1, 2, 3, 4. So if it's even, what it's going to take is it's going to do, and this is just mathematical logic at this point. It's not really programming. This is just you thinking it through. Let me bring it down here so we don't have to look all over the place. So if it is this, what we want to do is length, so 4, divided by 2, so 2, minus 1. So that's going to grab this number. And what we also want is the other value. So what I'm going to do is middle value. Actually, this can be yeah, why don't we just go ahead and do that? That works. Let's just make this an empty array. And we'll go ahead and make this equal to 0. So we'll store it there. Once again, you could have made 2 separate variables to hold this. I'm just going to make an array. Millions of ways to do what I'm doing right now. Do not feel like you have to do it my way. If you have another way that you were thinking it through, it's like, hey, why doesn't he do that? That's totally fine. So now, instead of minusing, we're just going to do 2. So that's going to grab these 2. So there you go. So that's going to handle the even. And obviously, if it's not even, it's going to be odd, right? It's either even or odd. It's a binary decision. That's why an if-else statement works really good here. So what we're going to do is middle value is going to be equal to, and once again, I made this an array, so all I need is, oh, did not think that one through. I need 0 here. My apologies. So now we're going to take the array sorted. Oh, this is actually quite complicated. And then we're going to take the length. And now we just need that other one. So we're going to do 2. And this is a little complicated to understand, but once again, it's just mathematical. We're going to minus by this, and that will be the minimal thing. And there you go. So now what we're going to do is return the middle value. So let's try this. Let's see if this works. So we'll just do a simple thing. Value equals, what did I call this? Middle. And do we have yeah, we'll do array 1. So it's 3. Yay! Let's see if this works. So it's 4. That doesn't seem right. No, it is right. I was like, whew, that does not seem right. I was panicking a little bit because I didn't want to do this again. So let's take this out so we get an even. That would be an error. So we got 5 and 4. Whew, so we have just made a handy dandy little thing that's always going to find the even value. All right, thank you. Bye.